Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Kelly, and for today's video we are going to be doing my November reading wrap-up. I had a really great reading month. I read 10 books. I did have a lot of rereads and I will explain why in a couple minutes. But I wanted to tell you guys all of my reading stats. I wrote them down in my notes this time, so I came prepared for this video. So like I said, we read 10 books. 3 of them were fantasy and 6 were romance. And out of those 10 books, I did 5 rereads. And then we also did 1 novella in November. And for my page count for the month, it was 4,069 pages, which is actually really good. I didn't write down like which ones I read from like physical, Kindle, audio. I will put those in the description because I kind of have to go back and look at all the books and remember how I read them. But yeah, those are all of my reading stats. And normally I go into this video and we go in order from like the first book I read in the month to the last one. I think we are going to do it a little bit differently because of the rereads that I did. Now, the 5 books that I reread in November was the whole entire Dark Verse series by Runix. And this was because the last book in the series, the Syndicator, did I say that right? I feel like I'm saying that word wrong. Anyways, the last book in the Dark Verse series came out and I kind of wanted a refresh before I read the last book. So I did a reread. I don't know when exactly I read these last year. I think it was towards the end of the year, but I wanted to go back in and tab the books as well. So I'm going to just go through them really quickly. So we had the Predator and the Reaper. This is Marana and Tristan's story, and I will say they are still my favorite couple in this series. I just love them so much, and Tristan Kane is definitely my favorite book boyfriend in this series as well. If I had to pick a favorite book, it would probably be the Reaper. I had the best time like annotating this. I don't know if you could see, but I tabbed this book like crazy and I just had the best time rereading both of these books. Upon my reread, I don't know what I originally rated the first book, but I gave it a 4.5 stars, and then the second one is a 5-star because I just love this book so much. Definitely my favorite dark romance book ever. I just love them. So we reread those 2. And then the third book is The Emperor. This is Dante and Amara's story. I forget what I gave this upon the reread. I think it was a 5-star or a 4.75. I can't really remember. And then the Finisher, which I don't know what it is about this book, but I just don't love this one. So this one you're following Alpha and Zephyr, and in my opinion, I think Zephyr carried this book on her back. Like, I loved her so much, and then Alpha was just kind of there. Like, I liked him, he just wasn't my favorite. I just really loved Zephyr, and I feel like she was the main part of this book that I really loved. So I don't remember what I gave this book, maybe a 3, 3.5, something like that. And then I reread The Annihilator. I read this book in January, but since I was rereading every single other book, it only felt right to reread this one as well. I don't want to say who this book is about because I feel like you should go into this one a little bit blind. I feel like it makes the experience so much better. But this couple was competing with Tristan and Marana as my favorite, but I don't know, I just have such a connection to both of them that I think they're my favorite, but they are a very close second. This book would probably be like a 4.5, 4.75 as well. And then I didn't buy the physical book yet, but I probably will because I need to have the full series on my shelf. But the Syndicator I read as well, and I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. When this book originally came out, Runix was getting so much hate for it because people were very disappointed in it, and at this point I was like, and people were being like really mean. Like, there were people sending her like really mean comments on like Instagram and like wishing death upon her, and it was just such crazy stuff. And I'm like, guys, it's just a book, like it's not that serious. And I feel like a lot of people had so many expectations before this book came out and then it didn't meet them. And as I was reading, I think I got up to maybe like the 60-ish% mark, and I was having the best time. I was loving it. I was laughing, crying, like so many different emotions. And I'm saying to myself, like, why are people hating on this book so much? Like, I don't get it. And I was ready to, you know, fight and be like, what are people talking about? And then I read the last 30 to 40% and I understood why people did not like this book. I still really don't know my own opinions, and there's a lot I can't say because it are huge spoilers for anybody who hasn't read the series. But I don't know, it just fell flat at the end, and there were so many things, from what I can say, that isn't spoiler, I think. I don't think it's a spoiler, but I feel like Runix added so many things in the end that were just so unnecessary. Like, there were so many things happening at the end, and I'm like, what was the point of that? And then she would throw this at you, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, we're so close to the end. And even in, like, the epilogue, I'm like, why are you doing this? So I don't know my rating. I haven't given it one yet. If I had to tell you a rating right now, it would probably be a 3.5, because I cannot give a book in this series lower than that, because I just love these characters so much, and I did have a really good time reading that book up until the 60 to 70% mark. Just so many things, I'm like, why are we adding this into the plot? Like, it was just so many unnecessary things, and I feel like it was just thrown in there to add like a or like, oh my gosh, and I just feel like that book didn't need all of that at the end. So I really don't know. I'm very disappointed in that book. I still really loved the beginning of it. I don't know. I'm very torn. I don't know. I'm really sad that the series is over, and I'm gonna miss these characters so much. I just wish that the end of this series was just wrapped up differently. I don't know. But I still really recommend this series. It's so good, in the characters I love so much, and I'm so connected to all of them, and I'm really gonna miss this universe. So that was a huge part of my reading month in November. Another huge part of my reading month is I have been on my Zodiac Academy journey. You guys already know I've been in it. So I read the 4th book, which was Shadow Princess, and oh my gosh, this book is where shit starts hitting the fan, and I'm like, how can it get worse? And then you continue and you're like, oh, it can get worse. The ending of this book absolutely broke my heart. I was sobbing reading the end of this, and I had to go into the next one. But when I was looking at different people's like reading orders, there's like novellas that people like throw in like all throughout these books, and I seen, what's the name of this novella that I read? Hold on. Okay, it's called Origins of an Academy Bully, and I've seen people say that you're supposed to read that before this book, but I read this one first. I was like, oops. So I read that one after this one, and it's only like 90 pages. It was really short, and I'm not going to give it a rating because it was just very, very short, and it just showed like some things that happened before this series took place, and I really liked seeing that. But after reading this book, I was just so focused on wanting to know what was going to happen next. This book is 5 stars. I ate this up, and this is the book I feel like where I became obsessed with these characters, and I'm like, yep, they're my family. So 5 stars for Shadow Princess. So yeah, after I read the Origins of an Academy Bully, that little novella, I went straight into the 5th book. This is Cursed Fates. This book broke my heart. Like, I literally said to myself in book 4, like at the end, it couldn't get worse. It could get worse. It could get a hell of a lot worse. There were so many things in this book where it had me screaming. Like, I read it on my Kindle just because the font, I don't know if you can see that, but the font in this series is so tiny in a paperback, so I had to bring out my Kindle, and these books are on Kindle Unlimited. But it had me screaming on my Kindle. I was crying, I was laughing. There was just so many emotions, and the way that this book ended had me a sobbing mess. So I had to take a little bit of a break from this. So that's where these rereads came in. I think I read The Predator before these books, and then I read these ones, and then I went back into my Dark Verse reread. But this book is an Infinity Star. This is probably my favorite of the series so far. And yeah, these characters mean everything to me, and I will be reading the 6th book. I think that's going to be my next read. So I love this universe. If you haven't read the Zodiac Academy series yet, please do. You will not regret it. And if you do, you didn't hear from me. Okay, so the last book that I actually read in November was The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. This is the last book in the trilogy, and I have very conflicting thoughts on this. I was really entertained in this book, and I gave it 4 stars just because there were some things that happened like in the middle where I'm like, all right, you're losing me a little bit, but like after that it like picked up again and I was really enthralled in the story. And like I said, I think I've said this in a couple of videos before, but this is more fantasy heavy. There's barely any romance in this, and there's more like political fantasy and stuff like that. So if you're not into that, you probably won't like this series, but I actually really enjoyed it. I would say it's like a 3.5 to a 4-star series for me. I really enjoyed it. The only thing is I really liked the FMC more than the MMC. Like the MMC was just alright to me, but I was really obsessed with Jude and her story, and I felt for her, and I was really just rooting for her to get her happy ending in the end, and I really liked this. So 4 stars. This video was all over the place because like I said, normally I'll go in like order, but I felt like I should just talk about this series first because I would have had to talk about 2 books in this and then go back this way, and it would just been a lot of back and forth. So yeah, those are all of the books that I read in November. Always a chaotic time, but I really hope that you guys enjoyed watching this video. Also I'm sorry if you've seen my band-aid this whole video and it's been annoying. I actually cut myself yesterday at work. I don't use stitches or anything. It's fine. I've just been in a little bit of pain, so yeah, but I'll be alright. So sorry if that band-aid has bothered you in this video. I apologize. But yeah, that is it. Let me know down below what your favorite read of the month was. So my favorite read has to be Cursed Fates or The Reaper reread, because I just had a great time reading all these books. But yeah, let me know your favorite reads of the month down below, and let me know any video ideas that you guys want me to do. I love you all so much, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys!